And here it was Tuesday morning, and I'm about to voluntarily check in to Yankton Federal Prison Camp for a conviction of fraud. And so in that federal prison camp, I would experience something that I never thought that I would. It was without a doubt the most difficult moment of my life. As I left that van and the kids and Karen were crying, and I'm thinking of what I've done. And after that emotion of leaving the van and them driving back to Des Moines, the feelings of failure and fear just continued. Because then I was asked to go into a room like this, small room, stripped down just in my underwear, and sit there across from another inmate coming in so we could prepare for a cavity check. And as I sat there, I thought, can this really be happening in my life? Am I truly a criminal? Is that really what I'm all about? I've disappointed and lied to so many people, and now my family has to suffer. It was the most difficult moment of my life, walking away from that minivan with my wife and the kids crying as I kissed them goodbye for the next 6 months. I was scared and felt like a worthless human being that had brought misery to family, friends, and particularly my wife. I had been convicted of mail fraud and sentenced to a 12-month split sentence, 6 months in the federal prison camp, 6 months under house arrest with 18 months of supervised release. It seems fitting to be convicted of fraud because in many ways in my life, I was being a fraud. But as I sat there, in one way I felt relief because finally the mask was off. Here I am, here's this faulty person, and I'm gonna be in prison with a whole bunch of other faulty people. And at that point, that's where I felt like I really belonged. Men who would inspire me though, men who would teach me to be real, and men who I would grow to love deeply in that place. God gave me a heart for fatherless men. And I would have never had the privilege of meeting these men up in my normal life. They come from totally different backgrounds and cultures and life experiences. One looked like this. Many of you might have seen one with the six roommates, and there was a little desk in the corner. At that little corner desk through the incredible men that I met in the camp, and God spoke deeply in my heart and changed me forever in that 6-month time. But let me back up with you and share what I did have that the men I met in their lives didn't have. And that was community. After I confessed to the crime of mishandling money in the financial business, I shared with my pastor at the church, a small church I was attending, and within a week they had formed a restoration team of people to come around me and my family to help guide us through the next 2 years of our life. This gave us a community of people who loved us and helped us through the toughest times of our lives. We submitted completely to that group, went to counseling as I was told, and I met with every person that I had offended and had to ask forgiveness. I was determined to be completely honest with everyone. And as we really fearfully cried over it, decide to give my deposition without any attorney representing me. I just wanted to tell the truth, and I wanted the results to come out. I felt like, how could I possibly come up with the money to defend myself and just get as little bit as possible of a consequence when I owe people money? And I just felt like I just wanted to be honest. I didn't want to do it anymore. The attorneys told me I was crazy. They said, you do that, you're in for 18 to 24 months, guaranteed. It's a federal case. There's just no way it's going to be any different. But after pleading guilty to the mail fraud charge, I had to wait 11 months for sentencing hearing. The court assigned me a public defender, and I was obviously going to plead. I pleaded guilty, and it was a federal court because of a transaction that involved mail across state lines. So rather than being considered a state crime, it was a federal crime, which was not to my advantage, as I understood because of the difference in federal guidelines in my first offense. Federal judges have less flexibility and typically stay true to the federal guidelines, which my attorney said it looks like 18-month sentence. My court-appointed attorney felt like because I gave the deposition with no representation, there's not a whole lot he can do except try to save the court time. So during that 11 months, I was scared, I was depressed. I was loading shelves overnight at Hy-Vee from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. And I remember one instance when I was so stressed and we were at home and the kids were just being kids. And I shouted at the kids and yelled at them and then felt awful. And I walked to the back of the house and I went in and sat down on the picnic table in the back of the house. My wife came out and I said to her, I really think you'd be better off without, you and the kids would be better off without me in your life. And my wife said to me, I'm looking for compassion. And my wife said to me, if you think I'm going to raise these 4 kids alone, and you're going to try and kill yourself, I'll kill you now. Because I'm not going to do that. So pull up your bootstraps and let's go. We don't have time for you to feel sorry for yourself. And so at that point, I realized I married way over my head, right? And I recommend that to all young men. Find a woman that's far better than you, and you'll need it sometime. So the sentencing hearing finally arrived, and I walked into the courtroom. And the courtroom was so full of family, church family, friends supporting Karen and I that there was standing room only in the back. It was packed. A community that loved me showed up in spite of my failure. Prior to the sentencing hearing, the public defender indicated that he had a deal with the prosecutor that he'd go easy because I gave all the information. He'd go easy on me. But then when I got up on the stand, he came after me. And because it was kind of like a mini Ponzi scheme, actually the number of dollars was higher because a lot of it got paid back. So he tried to say, so really the guidelines should be much higher. And I said, I suppose. I just told the truth. I came down, and something you don't want to hear from your attorney is, that didn't go so well. Well, here's the amazing thing. So it didn't look good for me, but my attorney, my public defender, didn't even know me very well. He stood up and he said this, Your Honor, the greatest deterrent from this man ever reoffending is to have a community of people around him that will hold him accountable to a changed life. And if you look in this courtroom right now, this man has no lack of community. And I was just, my mouth was wide open. I mean, he couldn't have said anything more perfect. So the judge with my probation officer, he wanted to go talk with him, and my probation officer and he were back at 10 or 15 minutes. It seemed like an hour. The judge came back out, and the judge came back and said, I probably shouldn't do this because I would never recommend anybody going without representation. But I'm going to give you an additional downward departure for unusual acceptance of responsibility. So instead of what I thought was a guaranteed 18 months, you're going to get a 12-month split sentence, 6 months in, 6 months under house arrest, and 18 months of supervised release. You wouldn't think you would applaud for a sentence, but that was a miracle. That was truly a miracle, especially after what happened there on stage. Being grateful. Now the question was, how would I use the time in prison to become healthy and benefit from the experience? But I was scared and I had no idea what God did in my heart in those 6 months. I wanted to know, what is God's plan for my life? If I have to load shelves at Hy-Vee the rest of my life, but I can be a man of integrity, I can be a good husband, a good father, that is fine with me. That's what I'll do. I needed to show up here every day and I have an attitude of seeking God's plan for my life. This quote is just so perfect for me because I felt that. You can't fulfill your calling in your comfort zone. You're typically pulled out in an uncomfortable place to find your calling. God gave me the privilege of meeting men that would change my understanding of opportunity in America. I grew up thinking that everybody had the same chance, right? But I met men that really changed that view for me. Because here, as a middle-class white person, I got to go back and I had this community of people around me who were going to help me. The guys I met didn't have that. They go back to a place that was more difficult. One of my roommates, we called him 4-5 because he was crippled in his left arm because of a drive-by shooting. A .45 caliber pistol went through his arm and killed his brother. He gets out, he goes to the same environment. Another young man I met, Matt, 22 years old. I'm 35 at this point, trying to figure out how I screwed my life up so bad. Well, Matt was Mr. Badass out in the population. He's like, bring it on, I'll fight anybody. I don't care if I go to county jail. I'll fight you. But with me, for some reason, he was just like a boy. He would cry and he would share his heart. Matt, in the last 10 years, had 5 different men living with him and his mother. Most of them would beat him. One of them sent him on a drug delivery, which is how Matt got into drugs. And so every day, I didn't know what to share with Matt. I'm no counselor. I'm just as messed up as he is in many ways. I didn't have that background. But I determined that every day I would meet with Matt and I would tell him one thing about him that I thought was amazing. There was nobody else that I'd never seen in anybody else. And what I saw happen in Matt over those 6 months was remarkable. He was transparent. He started getting hope. He started changing. But you know what I didn't anticipate is how much it changed me. Because all of a sudden now, I'm looking for good things instead of things that annoy me. In all the prisoners, right? And believe me, there's plenty of things that could be annoying, but for some reason I could look past that and I could see something that's amazing in each person. It was a remarkable experience. I ended up calling it intentional encouragement. I want to intentionally encourage somebody. I want to watch for that. Almost all of them are fatherless men. I would see guys come back to prison while I was there, and I asked them, why'd you come back? And the answer was common, because nobody would hire me, because nobody would give me a job. I had to survive. So I had to go sell drugs again, or I had to steal again, and I'm right back where I was. The day I left prison, Matt grabbed me and hugged me. And Matt said to me, I love you. And he said, you're the closest thing to a father I've ever had in my life. I'll never forget Matt. I don't know what he's doing now. I couldn't stay in touch with him. He was there on the drug rehab program for a full 18 months. And I don't know what Matt's doing now. But Matt changed my view of things. And I believe that that was the day, that was the moment that I was called to do something about it. I came out of the federal prison camp in Yankton, the most peaceful I'd ever been. My life has never been the same over the last 28 years. God's blessings have been innumerable, but also there have been many struggles and challenges, but I've been able to deal with each one honestly and in an authentic way. Knowing God is in control of the outcome. By showing up every day, sometimes for 5 minutes, just silent before God, the uncomfortable work of changing has now become comfortable and natural. Not always painless, but a regular part of my life. But God used my love for these men and men like them to give hope to many. Because of the recommendation from my restoration team, my community, I was given an opportunity to become the director of operations for a ServiceMaster franchise in Des Moines. It's a small ServiceMaster, about 70 people, have been 15 years old, but it's a typical ServiceMaster. It's a profitable, nice little ServiceMaster. And here's the crazy thing. When you had to get a job, you get into prison, you got to get a job. And if you don't, I was up in South Dakota and I was in the middle of winter, and if I didn't get one, I was going to be automatically put on landscaping. Now, you don't want to be on landscaping in the middle of winter in South Dakota, right? Because when the snow comes, the guard shakes your bed, says, let's go, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, doesn't care, he's shoveling, right? So I had clerical skills to be able to type, and so I got a job at the safety department because it was open. So what did they teach you? They taught me all MSDS sheets, they taught me the cleaning, all the cleaning equipment, all the cleaning chemicals, and I had to share that and teach the inmates. I had no idea I was going to be offered a job in the janitorial industry. And nobody knew that was the job I had in prison. So anyway, what happened is, over the next 14 years when I was there, I spent more time out there in the field cleaning toilets in the buildings with my people that I could relate to encourage them. I'd even have races. You clean that bathroom, I'll clean this, I'll bet you I beat you. And I love those people. I had a heart for these people. We created a culture that everybody wanted to work there. We, over the next 14 years, became the second largest service master franchise in North America with 350 employees. Only a story like this, that can't be made up. I'm no business genius, right? All I did was love these guys. When I left there, and I had an opportunity to, in 2010, I left there, and in 2013, I got an opportunity to be president and partner of a 2-year-old commercial cleaning company that was a competitor that started it, but he saw what we had done. He said, I'd like you to be a partner. So I had an opportunity to do that. I had 40 employees at that time. And in 2021, we were awarded for the 6th year in a row one of the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America with almost 400 employees. Only 4% of all those that are on the Inc. 5000 have ever gotten it 6 times in a row. Only 211 since it started in 1961. And that's not because I'm amazing, right? But it didn't seem fair. Here I was experiencing this, and I knew the guys didn't have the opportunity to even get a job. How many of the men I spent time with had a community around them to help them overcome the barriers of being an ex-offender? I felt compelled to help in some way. And as you probably know, there's a lot of individuals incarcerated. Some of the statistics here, Iowa has 8,300 people currently incarcerated, 95% will eventually be released. 6,000 incarcerated people released each year, approximately a third of them from the central Iowa. U.S., 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prisoners, and 37% recidivism rate within a year. People being held in prisons, 1972, 350,000. Today, over 2 million. 1 out of every 20 U.S. citizens will serve time in his or her lifetime in prison. 1 out of 20. There are as many people with a criminal record as there are with college degrees. And employment is a significant factor in reducing reoffending. Incarceration causes economic poverty. 47% of the people in state prisons and 57% in federal prisons are parents of minor children. Most parents are fathers, 626,000. The number of fathers in prison increased 48%. The number of mothers increased 96% in that time period. Back then, it's 44% recidivism rate, 42% of them drug-related. Formerly incarcerated people face alarming rates of joblessness. If you look in a research done that in 2010 they were released, 6 months, 62% were unemployed, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And the peak unemployment in the U.S. was in 2020 at 15%. So defining economic poverty, based on the U.S. Department of Treasury, says this: the bottom 20% of the population makes $16,000 or less per year. Takes 10 years, according to the Department of Treasury, to escape that. Released from incarceration, recently completed drug rehab, stuck in the welfare trap. In Des Moines, of the 215,000 people in Des Moines proper, 34,000 of them live in economic poverty. And in the target area that we look at, if you look at this red area, that's our target area. That's where our office is, right there by Drake. 43,000 people, over 31% are in poverty. In that area, 47% are minorities, 21% are foreign-born, 56% are single parents, and 25% of them are unemployed. Demographics that we had changed course have really looked at are men and women coming out of incarceration, men and women coming out of addiction treatment, and typically women who are single parents with fathers currently incarcerated. So after 26 years of success in business, I was finally sent to fulfill my calling. 26 years later, felt like I was called and yanked. And in February of 2022, I left my job. My wife and I started a 501c3 called Change Course, designed to alleviate poverty in the different demographic with a relief program, not with a relief program, but with a development program. In poverty, there's three different levels. There's relief, there's rehabilitation, and there's development. We have really good relief programs. We have good rehabilitation programs, but we're really lacking in the development side. Now that they've gotten to a place where they can actually start working on themselves, who's going to take them the rest of the way to get that career job? And that's what we determined to do. Our mission is to put an end to relational, economic, and spiritual poverty by giving hope, untapping creativity, and empowering participants with career skills, surrounded by and involved in a loving community. That's the key. The thing that's different about what we're doing is we create a new community for them. A lot of these people, when they come out of incarceration, they go back to a community that keeps them in the same place. And so they keep recurring that same problem that they have, those unhealthy habits. The only way they have the courage to step away and not be alone, which is even scarier, is you create a new community for them. And you bring them in and you say, you're a part of this now. And the power of that is amazing, truly is. So we ask them, here it is. You want a new life or you want to go the old life? And to achieve goals you've never achieved before, you need to start doing things you've never done before. So we're going to talk about that stuff. So let me tell you the parts of what we do at Change Course. First of all, we've got to vet them. We have to determine whether or not they're ready to change. Okay, our first class we had, we're in our second class, and they're going to graduate in December. Our third class starts November 6th. Also, let me tell you that this model has been running successfully in the gang district of Denver for 10 years. And they're graduating almost 200 people every year out of poverty. So we know it's a model that works. It's not just something that we've come up with. We've customized it to Des Moines, but it is a model that really works. So here's our leader journey. Who wants to change? So the first thing we do is recruitment. We do quite a bit of interest form application, phone interview. Career coach calls them and talks to them. Then we do a background check, math test, reading test, supporting documents that they can work in the United States. And then we do a final review decision, accept leaders, attend an orientation, we do a drug screening, meet with a career coach to begin class. They have to stay clean throughout our program. The hardest part is THC, because THC is for most people, it's like, you go home and have a glass of wine, what's the difference? It should be legal. Well, we're not looking to argue that, okay? We're just saying, here, you want a job. We want to get you a job. It is illegal in Iowa, and they check for it. If you're in a career job, if you go landscaping and those jobs that you're just turning over, they're probably not going to check you. You know what? If you're going to build a career, they're going to test you.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt. How are you guys handling that with the medical cards now?
We haven't had a medical card person in it at this point, but if they do have a medical card, then they're okay with that.
Okay.
If they can show us, they have to prove it.
Okay.
And then we also tell them, look, you can only miss 3 classes in the 6 months. You can only be late 6 times. Now, we surround that with some grace, but we want them to feel like this is a job, right? You've got to build new habits. You've got to be on time. What's the biggest problem with people who give second chances? They don't show up, right? I hired so many of them when I was in the cleaning industry because I had a heart for them. I was burned 9 out of 10 times. 9 out of 10 times I was burned. But I didn't want to miss that one. Most companies say, I did it 5 times. I can't do it anymore. It's too expensive. It's not good business. So what we tell our business partners, we're going to take that risk away. If they follow our rules for 6 months, you know they're ready to change. A respected Des Moines psychologist recently said about Change Course, Change Course is the most robust recovery and vocational rehab program I've ever seen in Iowa. It's a 6-month program. You can't do the work we're trying to do and build community in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, even 6 weeks. It's a 6-month program. We see it as there's 3 pillars of poverty. There's the economic pillar, there's the relational, and there's the spiritual. On the economic, what we do is we do a personal development. This is the one that my wife leads, and that's where we really get close. This is 6 weeks, and this is where we really speak into them. What does your mom say to you? What does your dad say to you? We do strength finders, we do Enneagram. We say, here's who you really are. Did you realize who you are? Look at this. They said, well, who said that about me? I said, you said that about you. And so we teach them that, and they're amazed, right? They're just fascinated by it. And then we talk about coping skills. We talk about how do you look a person in the eye? How do you tell your story? How do you shake a hand? The simple things that sometimes we grew up in a family that it was just taken for granted. We do skill development, so that's what we do. After that 6 weeks, we go into skill track development. That's a workplace certification, Penn Foster, DMAC, a variety of accredited colleges, so they get a certification in that particular area that they're pursuing. Because we help them determine what's a great career for you with your strengths and your passions and your background. Obviously, if I was a drug addict, I probably won't be a pharmacist. Right? If I was a thief, I probably won't be a banker. So we got to make sure that it fits with them. And then we go into their career launch. That's where we have a variety of different businesses that are partnering with us. And being in business, small business like I was, I had the opportunity to build these relationships. So now I go back, having a good relationship, saying, would you hire these people if they go through the program? They say, absolutely. But you have to pay them at least $19 an hour plus benefit. Not a problem. Because we got to launch them out of that welfare trap. And that's about the number we have to hit for those people stuck in the welfare trap. Here's kind of what we do. We do coping skills, storytelling, identity development, what makes me me, creative for purpose, mindset, professional skills, skill track, job acquisition, and once they get a job in that career track, they graduate. And we make a big deal of graduation. But here's the important part. It's all encompassed to the unconditional love. We just love them. They've said to us, why are you doing this? You got to be making money. No, it's free to you. People are giving to be able to do this for you. Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. But then they feel it. They feel it every time they walk in the door. They feel like they're a special person. And we want to make sure that continues. Here's some of the different areas that we go into when we talk about career opportunities. We have 21 altogether, and we change those based upon what's the greatest demand out there, job demand. So we adjust those accordingly. But those are some of the ones that we do. We've had a lot of CNAs. That's been probably the most popular one. But then now we've got some HVAC, we've got some electrical, we've got plumbing in this class, medical assistant, medical administrative assistant. So now the relational. The relational part is extremely important. There's two terms here that are common in our program. One is leader, and the other is ally. We call our participants leaders because we want them to remember you are leading this out. We're getting here to support you. We're going to support you every day, but you have to make the decision. We're not doing it for you. Got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to complete the class time if you want to stay in the program. Completely free to them. Matter of fact, we give them $100, up to $100 travel stipend every 2 weeks if they complete their work. They get it all done, they can earn up to that $100. So we build those leaders. The leaders come in, and Karen will be the one to attest to this. Man, they come in like this. Don't talk to me. I don't know you. I don't trust you. And the black Americans sit here, maybe the Somalians sit here, you've got the Asians here, and you've got the white people here, right? By the time we're done, everybody's hugging everybody. They're helping each other, say, you need a place to stay for a while? Come stay with me. You need a ride? I'll give you a ride. There's no barriers. The barriers that the world wants to make, society wants to make barriers between us. They're all broken down when you create community. They're gone. People are just people. And they're helping each other. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And then allies. Allies are the volunteers that we assign to our leaders. So there's usually one ally for about three leaders. And every Monday night, we have what's called family gathering. Our normal classroom is 9:30 to 1:30, Monday through Thursday. That's where we do the classwork. And then every Monday night from 6 to 8, we feed everybody. We get everybody together, we play a game, we do shout outs to each other, we have a person come in and speak who's overcome obstacles, and then they break into their small groups with their allies, and they get deeper. This is where they get real. And I'm telling you, it's not like getting together with a professional person that only tells you this much. This is gut stuff, right? This is raw, this is real, it's beautiful. It's the way people ought to be with each other. There's no walls. It's an incredible experience. And then that's where we build family. We build family on those Monday nights. The last one is spiritual. Now, our spiritual development is optional. A person could come as an atheist, they could come as a Buddhist, and they can leave as an atheist and a Buddhist. There's no pressure at that at all. They'll get the same love, they'll get the same care, they're going to feel the same thing. But twice a week through the 6 weeks, we have an optional spiritual development class that if you want to come, we'll buy you lunch. And probably 75% of them come on both those times. Because we really do feel like you need to learn, the spiritual side of it is where you learn to love consistently, where you learn to be unconditional, where you learn, who am I really? I've been made for a purpose, right? We talked about that. And the ability to have a measuring tool, a moral compass that helps us to do those things better. There's this one verse is really what we go by in the way that we treat people. We are motivated by our Christian faith. In this verse, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted, to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners free. That was the prophecy of Jesus, and then Jesus said it again in Luke 4 about himself. If we do this well, we impact people in a positive way. But nobody is pressured to believe any certain way. They get treated all the same. But we feel like it's extremely important to make sure we offer that. Mother Teresa said this, everybody respects that one. Being unwanted, unloved, uncared for, forgotten by everybody, I think that is a much greater hunger, a much greater poverty than a person that has nothing to eat. So here's kind of what we call this the cycle of community. So they come in and we do personal development. They engage with us, we do personal development. We move them on, we encourage them into the skills track area. We empower them by getting a career launch. We elevate them by giving them a graduation, and we give them a commission. Somebody's done this for you. Who are you going to do this for? You can't hang on to this. So something was given to you. Just like me, I'm paying it forward. I want you to pay it forward too. What are you going to do for your community to help other people that were in the same position that you were? And that's really crucial. Now here's the cool thing, right? Here's the cool thing. Once they get to this area, we found that our graduates, they want to be on the inside circle helping other people inside the program. They're saying, I'd like to work for you. Can I work for you? Well, we don't have enough money to give you more jobs, but you can be a part of it. You can be a volunteer, you can help. We don't let them be an ally until they've been successful in their career for a year. You got to get solid in what you're doing. You got to get your career motivated. Once you get your career running smooth, then you can come and you can be an ally. But we want to encourage them to do that. Here's our goal. One of our core values is the 4D vision. The change course leader, they change. They impact their family. Their family impacts their neighborhood. And their neighborhood impacts the community. Then we have generational impact. It doesn't happen overnight. But that's the way generational impact happens. So think about, here we are in Des Moines. Think about if we start to have some of those pockets all around. Think of the impact that we can have. We truly can have an impact if you teach people, not only will you help them get to where they want to get, but also teach them that you have to help your neighbor too. It's given to you free. What are you going to give away to somebody else? That's powerful. Currently, here's our cost to do this per participant, with tuition, staff, everything included, the whole thing. It's $23,000 per person. Think about that compared to a person going to college. I mean, it's not a lot of money if you think about it. And they don't come out with any debt. You think of a person who went into college, and this person went through change course, started their career track. 3.5 years later, where's that person? 4 years later, where's this person that graduated college, and what do they have as debt load? This person doesn't. They've been working on the job for 3.5 years, built their career up. The greatest experience in work, the greatest way to move up in a company is by working there. And then they can school you. Then a lot of our businesses, they give them more education, our people more education because they're doing such a great job. So, but we hope by 2025, to get our numbers up, we hope to have it down to $11,000. That's our goal. In this model, we're one of probably 8 across the United States that are using this model that started in Denver. In this model, they had a consultant look at it. When you look at earned income, decrease in government benefits, and taxes paid, every dollar invested in this model has a return of $6.45 to the community. You can't find very many poverty services that have that happen, right? By the end of 2025, we plan to be graduating. Hopefully, we have graduated 150 leaders each year in Des Moines. We're right on the corner of 25th and University. Drake is right back here. That's now called Hope Elam Church. We have on our second floor, we have our classroom set up, and then on the third floor, they give us an office. It's low, very low expense. They're trying to help with poverty too. So they say you belong here, we'll help you out. There's what our classroom looks like. It's beautiful. I mean, it's perfect for a classroom. Here's some of our graduates from the first one. They were getting a certificate on a Monday night. I look at them and I get choked up on some of them. I love those people. We get so close to them. The hardest part is when they don't make it. In our first class, we had 18 start and only 7 graduate. It can't be easy. You can't just get them to graduate. If you're going to have an impact, you got to push them to where they understand when you graduate, you have a future. If everybody could just graduate, all we've done is waste everybody's time. You have to be ready to change. But the cool thing is, the next class, this class, we started with 18. We got 13 still, and we're graduating December 16th, and they're going strong. We did a better job vetting up front, asking the right questions. And we're just going to get better at that. And we have another class starting November 6th. That'll be our third class. I want you to hear just real quickly, hopefully the sound is up. see if it works.
I had fell into a pretty bad alcohol addiction, which was affected my life, my health. It ultimately affected my job. I also did a 9-month jail sentence. Things were falling apart at the seams, being lonely and depressed. I needed help, and I was able to get it. I chose to change course because, number one, it got me into a routine and got me some hope. I would recommend change course to anybody that's struggling, whether you've had a history as a felon or coming from jail, or if you're just stuck. I would recommend it to anybody. My name is Todd Capel, and I'm a change course leader.
Todd is now working for a company in Adel, doing very, very well. He's moving up into more of an executive job. He started at that early level, but they paid him well enough to get started. And now he's moving on up to the company. But after having 4 DUIs and being in prison in jail for 9 months, he had no confidence at all. He didn't think he could even, he was scared to apply because he knew he was going to be rejected. And he's just one of the stories that we are trying to share with everybody else. Here's the highlights of the 2023, the first graduation class. Leaders graduated, started a career, not just a job. The average salary, $19.12 compared to $13.28 when the class started. All that benefits compared to 39% when class started. That changes opportunity for people. They still have to choose to make the right decisions going forward. But we've launched them into it. And we can say that they're all doing well. And all those that graduated haven't fallen back into an old lifestyle. That's what our graduation looked like. Isn't that awesome? I'm telling you, it was just, it was amazing. Each one of them were able to do some really great things, and